hosting the inaugural Dr. Hage G Town Hall Conversation. Now, the event this year honors former President Geingob on what would have been his 85th birthday today, and it also serves as a platform for commemorating his leadership. Now, former President Geingob was widely recognized for championing inclusive governance, national dialogue, and the pursuit of shared prosperity. This evening, just to give us a glimpse of what we can expect with this town hall conversation, we have with us Professor Peter Kashavivi. Professor, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here.
We appreciate your time, Professor. Well, as I mentioned, of course, this event serves as a platform to remember President Geingob this evening, but more importantly, to hone in on his leadership, his legacy, etc. In your own words, Professor Kashavivi, how would you describe the former President Geingob's legacy?
Well, this is a befitting occasion to commemorate his birthday, as well as to look into his vision of Namibia, his contribution in terms of building a one Namibia, one nation, as well as basically advancing a vision that tells a story about who we are, define Namibia in terms of our strengths as a nation through unity or purpose, but also in terms of the governance structure that Dr. Hage Geingob advocated for Namibia. He had a vision, and I think this event is going to unpack that vision, is going to reflect on his vision for Namibia, his contribution, and it's a conversation, it is a dialogue among friends and people who have known him, including myself. So I'm very much looking forward to tell a story. Who was Hage Geingob? And this is important because as we look to the future, we also want to share Hage's vision with the younger generation of Namibian young men and young women.
Well, tonight there are invited guests, there are dignitaries, there are scholars, there are academics who are forming part of this inaugural town hall conversation this evening. What are some of the things that you hope they take away with them after the event tonight?
I think it's to share a vision in terms of what we are proposing to do. The initiative around the setting up of Hage Geingob Presidential Center. This is a center that will carry his vision of Namibia, his contribution at home and abroad, and I think this is something that I think is important that it is preserved, properly documented, so it's a legacy that he left behind. He might not be here physically, but his vision lives on.
Well, we're all gathered here this evening at the UNAM Hage Geingob Medical Campus. Is there significance to the venue and also to the day that has been chosen to host this town hall conversation?
Absolutely, absolutely. Talking about UNAM as a founding Vice-Chancellor of the University of Namibia, as a Vice-Chancellor, I did work very closely with Hage Geingob. At that time, as a Prime Minister of our country, in the area of education, capacity building, and the very medical school that is hosting us was actually a part and parcel of the initiative that we discussed with him. And we had a number of consultants from all over the world who came over to Namibia to help actually craft what a medical school should look like. And I'm extremely proud that UNAM actually honored him by naming the medical school after him. So it is quite a befitting occasion, held precisely by an institution that was part of our initiative to bring about the kind of skills that are necessary for the development of our country.
Professor Kashavivi, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we know that this evening is going to be a success. Thank you for joining us.
Later.
You'll have a lot to say later.
Yes, indeed.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, that was Professor Kashivivi, who is the chairperson of the Dr. Hage G. GEINGOB Presidential Center, speaking to us tonight about the inaugural town hall conversations that they're hosting tonight here at the UNAM Medical Campus in Windhoek. Of course, the conversations are just getting started. Guests are arriving, etc., being seated, and they'll be discussing and deliberating via a panel discussion later on this evening. So we're going to be handing the reins over to them at this juncture. From myself and the team, it's good night.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. A few housekeeping before we officially start with the program. My name is Yvonne Dausap. I'm the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Management and Law here at the University of Namibia, and I will be your Director of Proceedings. Quick housekeeping. Please rise as the VIP entourage has entered the room. Keep clapping, please, until they have their seat. Keep clapping until they have their seats. Let's carry them. They are finding their seats. Let's carry them. Thank you. You may be seated. We are live on NBC and on other media platforms, and I want to take this opportunity to say welcome everyone to the 85th birthday commemoration, the inaugural town hall conversation under the theme The Unique Contributions of President Hage G to Governance in Africa, Mediating Effective Governance through the Namibian Example. Today, 3 August, is his birth date. We are here to celebrate. He loved celebrating his birthdays. His dear wife, Monica, was telling me the other day. My name is Yvonne Dausap, the current Executive Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Management and Law at the University of Namibia, and I'm the former Minister of Justice. I will be your Director of Proceedings. Good evening, everyone. The inaugural town hall conversation marks the beginning of public programs of the Dr. Hage G Presidential Center. It brings together distinguished African leaders and governance experts to reflect on President Hage G enduring contribution to governance, constitutionalism, ethical leadership, nation building, and Pan-African cooperation. Through keynote remarks and a panel discussion, the conversation will explore the ideas and values that continue to shape Namibia and Africa's democratic future. But all of that will not make sense for us tonight if we don't remember. And with your permission, Your Excellency, I want to pause to recognize the enduring leadership of our founding father and first president, the late Dr. Sam Nujoma, who continues to rest in power, the continued and unwavering support of our second president, Dr. Hifikepunye Pohamba, Lucas Pohamba, as late president would call him. And in recognition of August month, also known as Women's Month, our first female president, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, our President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief, who through her leadership continues to build on the foundations laid by those that came before her. Give me a round of applause. Your Excellency, before we kick off the program, I want to recognize the following distinguished participants, and all of us are distinguished, but I want to single out. And will somebody bring me some water? The fourth President of the Republic of Namibia and Chancellor of the University of Namibia, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba. The third First Lady, thank you. The President is making sure no one has forgotten him. We shall not. The third First Lady and Deputy Vice Chairperson of the Dr. Hage G Presidential Center, Madam Monica Kengos. honorable ministers, deputy ministers, and former ministers, some of us standing before you, members of parliament, the governor of the Thomas region, Honorable Sam Nyoma Jr. You're not junior? Okay, I don't want people to get confused that you've returned. Leader of the official opposition, Dr. Panduleni Tula, welcome. I have omitted to mention that there are other governors in the House. I have noticed the governor of the Ochodonjupa region and also of Erongo. Welcome. You may wish to rise. There are elections coming up. Let the people see you. Ambassadors and high commissioners, I can see it's the people who look different from us, maybe, slightly, but wonderful to have all of you. For the sake of time, I will not mention the countries that they were from, but we're very, very happy to have you all in the room. Professor Peter Kashivivi, chairperson of the Hage G Geingob Presidential Center. He is also the founding vice-chancellor of this great university. Professor Ellen Namila, who's standing in for our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Kenneth Kamwe Matengu, who unfortunately, because of an emergency, couldn't be here with us, but he is ably represented, and other members of management. If I can have other members of the management, Professor Ndino Shiro, please, Dr. Prof. Musemane. This is the leadership of the University of Namibia, under whose tutelage we are here. And I want to also take this opportunity to say, Prof, the Executive Dean of the faculty where we are today, please rise on your feet. Thank you so much for hosting us. Board members of the Hage G Geingob Presidential Center, if you are here, you may rise so that people can see you. Ms. Christine Engelberta, the Special Advisor to the Vice President, you're very welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here with us. Panelists, wonderful panelists, we're excited about what you're going to be presenting to us. And the moderator, you will see them shortly. And then, of course, the Geingob and Galondo family, who I see on that side. You want to rise for a nice clap? Thank you so much. NBC, members of the media, student bodies, ladies and gentlemen, all the wonderful people that are in this room, thank you so much for coming, and clap for yourselves for being here tonight. Without any further ado, I would like to just indicate that for those of you who may need a health break, the bathrooms are outside and upstairs. I think there are ushers that will show you how to get there. But let's kick off this program with our welcoming remarks, which will be delivered by Professor Ellen Namila on behalf of Professor Kenneth Kamwe Matengu. But also, she will do the introduction of our keynote speaker after her remarks. Anyone that I have not recognized, I'm recognizing you now. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm very pleased, and I want to stand on the protocol as established by the Director of Proceedings. I'm very happy to warmly welcome you all to this Hage Geingob campus, Peter Nyarango Hall. This is a facility which was deliberately established or created or built by government of the Republic of Namibia, started as as it was called, the medical school on Hage Geingob, Hage Godfrey Geingob. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Kenneth Matengu, I'm bringing you warmest greetings and welcome. Professor Matengu was on his way from the airport. His kids are flying out today when he was called to return to the airport because one of his daughter is not feeling okay. So on behalf of Professor Matengu, I want to sincerely apologize. This is an event he looked forward to come to attend, and unfortunately, he's not able. So with that, I really, I feel honored and privileged to have the gathering and also in memory of our former president. So with that, I want to move on to my next responsibility, which is to introduce our keynote, none other than our former president, His Excellency Nangolo Mbumba. Your Excellency, it's very difficult for me to stand here and welcome you into your home because Honorable His Excellency Nangolo Mbumba is the Chancellor of the University of Namibia, so meaning that this is his home. And for me to welcome you into your own home is not very easy. Yeah, but nevertheless, we warmly welcome you. As a matter of introduction, His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba was born at Olukonda in Oshikoto region of Namibia. He is our fourth president, and he came to power under very difficult circumstances following the passing of His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Geingob. But before he became the president, His Excellency Nangolo Mbumba served as vice president from 2018 to February 2024, and he handed over the presidency to Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah in March 21, 2025. Dr. Nangolo Mbumba has a political career. He has been a member of SWAPO in exile, and he joined in SWAPO in exile via Botswana to Zambia in 1965. He later became SWAPO Deputy Secretary for Education and Culture. In 1987, he was appointed personal secretary to the president of SWAPO, Dr. Sam Nujoma. And in 1989, he returned to Namibia from exile to participate in UN-supervised elections. In 1990, he joined the new government of Namibia as secretary to cabinet. and he was then appointed Chief Executive Officer for the Joint Administration of Walfish Bay Offshore Islands for the integration into Namibia. Walfish Bay was subsequently integrated in Namibia in 1994. So this was a mammoth task. It was not an easy one, but as we all know, he performed that with flying colors. Also of importance is that Dr. Nangolo Mbumba was one of the first members of the National Assembly in 1993 until 2018. He served as minister of various ministries, including Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Ministry of Education, Minister of Safety and Security. And in 2012, His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba was elected SWAPO Party Secretary General, a full-time position where he served from 2012 to 2017. And in 2018, he was appointed Vice President of the Republic of Namibia, a position he held until 4th March 2024, when he became President of the Republic of Namibia. Dr. Nangolo Mbumba attended primary school in Okay. Okay, I must admit that he's my teacher. And as teacher, I think he wants to take over and teach me. And maybe I should also just say that Dr. Nangolo Mbumba is a family man. He's a teacher and he's a father to many, many children who are in exile, and I'm one of them. So if you find him among us, we are very close to him because of that fatherly role that he played. And I must say that it was not an easy task to father people, children who are not your children, and children of the liberation struggle. We are known maybe to be stubborn, but they mentor us. That's why we stand here. So with that, I think I'm introducing someone who don't need an introduction. And with that, I just want to leave you in the capable hands of His Excellency. So thank you very much, and I wish you will have a wonderful evening with this wonderful. Thank you very much.
Comfortable. First, to thank the director of this program, Minister Yvonne Dausap. She's always available whenever we have programs at UNAM. And to thank, rightly so, without doubt, my student, Professor Dr. Ellen Namila. You must thank her for introducing me. She mentioned two things. One of them is that I am the Chancellor of the University of Namibia. But one thing she does not know is, how did I become a Chancellor? As a vice president, I was in the office, comfortably doing my work, and I got a call from two people. They said, we have a problem here. We cannot agree who is going to be the next chancellor. Tate Pohamba was determined he's going to Kahudi. Dr. GEINGOB was determined he is only going to stay at State House. But somebody has to be a chancellor. Since I cannot say no to either one of them, I said yes. Now, at least you know how I got it. And it is therefore one of those things I cannot even refuse not to come to this occasion today and talk. Talk only short. And my short speech is as follows. First, Madam Monica Gangos, our third First Lady, and all the GEINGOB, the Kalondo, and the Mbumba, and the Kachavivi families, all of us, and the Nuyoma families, let us feel comfortable. My mom and boss, Honorable Pendukeni Vulaitana, former Minister of Justice and other ministry, and of course my boss as Secretary General of the ruling party. The fighting bishop, Honorable Bishop Sefania Kameta, former Minister of Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. We have a long history of meeting in Europe and fighting a little bit. That's why I call him the fighting bishop. Honorable members of cabinet, members of parliament, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, Dr. Namila in the place of Dr. Matengu, executive deans, UNAM management and staff, my other friend, Chris Jacobi, former editor-in-chief of the Republican newspaper. Somebody who wants to claim, he mentioned, hey, you are from Olukonda. Yeah, I am from Olukonda, but we define many things. Dr. Itula. Captains of industry, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is with profound sense of national, personal, and family responsibility that I join you on this momentous occasion where we honor the legacy of one of the foremost icons of our time, His Excellency, the late Dr. Hage Gottfried GEINGOB. The 3rd of August always brings with it fond memories because it is the day that witnessed the birth of this great man who became the 3rd President of the Republic of Namibia. However, it is a day that also brings with it poignant recollections, knowing that on this 85th birthday anniversary, we can only recall the smile of this departed national hero, but we can no longer be charmed by his captivating charms. So it is a bitter-sweet occasion for most, if not all of us. It is apt that today we are honoring Dr. GEINGOB at UNAM, one of the leading educational institutions in Namibia, with this inaugural Dr. Hage G. GEINGOB Town Hall conversation. he always encouraged dialogue. But primarily, he always prioritized the importance of education and the role of educators. We can forget who can forget his impactful statement when he said, and I quote, "Through the noble efforts of a teacher and education, the son of a farm worker becomes a president of a country, and the daughter of a domestic worker becomes a medical doctor," end of quote. While remembering these powerful words, we can recall in his memory the day on which he was born, and thank God for having granted Namibia the wonderful gift of Dr. GEINGOB'S life and legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased that on this inaugural occasion of Dr. Hage GEINGOB Town Hall Conversation, the organizers, we must thank them, the organizers have conceived such a befitting topic, namely, the unique contributions of His Excellency Dr. Hage G. GEINGOB to the governance architecture of Africa, governance architecture of the continent of Africa. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato hypothesized that political leadership should not be determined by ambition, social status, emotional persuasion, or public popularity, but rather by wisdom and the rational understanding of things, of world, and so on. He believed that governance is an intellectual and moral responsibility that requires specialized knowledge. You members of parliament, you ministers, you councillors, you governors, the responsibility is higher than we sometimes think it is. When we speak of Dr. GEINGOB'S unique contribution to Africa's governance architecture, we must appreciate the fact that the genesis of this contribution stemmed from his deep intellect, moral fortitude, and profound knowledge that he acquired through sweat and toil as a freedom fighter. And I like also sometimes to turn the word upside down and say, as a fighter for freedom. Because when you fight for freedom, it can be, the press will be the first to say, to protect the press, to protect this and to protect that. He's a fighter for freedom. He will be on the side of those who is being oppressed and defend them. Thus, his experiences both in Africa and the wider world shaped his thinking and implanted in him a deeper understanding of humanity and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, from the onset of his presidency, on March 21st, 2015, Dr. GEINGOB anchored his domestic governance policy to the principle of national building. Through his unique and prescriptive concept of the Namibian house, Dr. GEINGOB aimed to make the core pillars of nation building, namely A, shared identity, we are one. B, rule of law, we must live and be protected by the Constitution and the laws. Effective institution, our institution must function. Our schools, our hospitals, our cabinet, our parliament, our councils, they must function. Also, we have partnership or solidarity with other people from other countries and from other communities. And we must be able to relate to all other Namibians because we belong to the Namibian house. He understood that the nation building is a long-term process. And as he stated, we should constantly remind ourselves that nation building is not an event. It is a process that calls for continuous work and deliberate actions on the part of each one of us, not only on one person or leaders, all of us as Namibian citizens. Consequently, Dr. GEINGOB'S Namibia House concept represents more than a political statement or a slogan. Rather, it emphasizes that citizens emanating from different communities share a common responsibility towards the pursuit of national developmental objectives. Dr. GEINGOB'S domestic governance philosophy intersected with broader African Union governance frameworks, amongst these being the overarching Agenda 2063, which envisaged, and I quote, an Africa of good governance, of democracy, of respect for human rights, Africa of justice, and Africa of the rule of law. It is thus foreseeable that Dr. GEINGOB, through his unique approach to governance in Namibia, was destined to leave an enduring contribution to the evolution of Africa's governance architecture. This evolution can be traced back to the birth of African independence in the late 1950s and 60s, when young, educated, eloquent, and revolutionary leaders spearheaded their nation's ambitions to obtain independence from European colonial rule. Dr. GEINGOB'S described the historic transformation of Africa's governance architecture through what he called, and I quote, the three-wave theory. Three-wave theory, illustrating Africa's governance journey from political independence to effective governance. He posted that the first wave of African leadership was spearheaded by charismatic leaders and extraordinary personalities such as Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita, Ahmed Sekou Touré, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Ahmed Bebela, and Kenneth Kaunda, amongst many others. I will not finish all of them. I'm mentioning the first ones. The second wave of African leaders, or African leadership, saw this rise of the so-called strong men. There were no women. Strong men whose primary objective was to consolidate state power and personal power in themselves, sometimes through foul means such as coups. This was then later succeeded by a third wave of African leadership, which ushered in an era of democratic maturation, defined by effective governance and the rule of law, buttressed by sound processes, efficient system, and robust institutions. I'm almost like quoting Dr. GEINGOB himself, his processes, systems, and institutions. Despite a few reversals, there is always push and pull. We have witnessed the advent of this third wave, where African presidents adhere to term limits, and accept election result. The problem is always that we expect others to accept election result, but not ourselves. No way, no passer. Indeed, Dr. GEINGOB'S leadership and governance principles indicate his determination to be at the forefront of the third wave of African leaders, ushering in the new Africa. This is why on the 22nd September 2015, while receiving his honorary doctorate degree of Humane Letters from Fordham University, he stated, "I am proud to say that the Africa I represent is a new Africa, an Africa in which democratic norms prevail." That is what he said, a new Africa where democratic norms prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. GEINGOB'S approach to governance was driven by his belief that for Africa to respond to the demands of the modern world and the needs of her people, it requires Africans to be the drivers of the development of governance architecture across the continent as a means to enable African governments to act in the best interests of their continent and the citizens of Africa. He posited the idea that through focusing on the development of efficient and effective processes, systems, and institutions, instead of personalities, Africa would guarantee the sustainability of its governance architecture. At the core of Dr. GEINGOB'S governance philosophy was the belief that effective governance can only exist if it is reinforced by socio-economic development. It is for this reason that on the day of his ascendance to the presidency, he announced to the nation, the continent, and the world at large that, and I quote, "The main priority for the next administration will be addressing the socio-economic gaps that exist in our society. Our aim is to have a government structure that is responsive to the national goals and objectives, and that will promote effectiveness and efficiency across all government structure," end of quote. This statement by Dr. GEINGOB demonstrated his emphasis was not merely on economic growth, but on developmental governance in which state institutions actively improve the citizens' living conditions and lives. At a continental level, Dr. GEINGOB dovetailed his Namibian house concept with Pan-Africanist ideology. His advancement of the idea of unity and its importance to the attainment of shared prosperity translate into his support of African integration, which reflects the broad aspiration of Agenda 2063, which seeks a politically united, integrated continent supported by common governance frameworks and capable institutions. He espoused these ideas and engaged in bold and deliberate action that produced tangible results, both regionally in the SADC region and continentally in the wider African Union. On the issue of promoting African peace and stability, Dr. GEINGOB was peerless practitioner of that system. In case in point, on the 20th of October 2018, Dr. Gaingob attended Kenya's Mashujaa Day celebration in Kakamega County as a special guest of the then President Uhuru Kenyatta. Seizing the moment, Dr. Gaingob, instead of delivering his prepared statement, invited both President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Raila Odinga to the podium. Just imagine if you are the one invited and you are inviting both the President and the former Prime Minister to the podium. Holding up their hands, he lauded them two leaders for putting aside their intense political rivalry to work together for national stability, calling it a vital lesson in African unity. And in so doing, Dr. Gaingob demonstrated his astute statesmanship and unique ability to turn beliefs and ideas into concrete actions. On the regional cooperation through SADC, Dr. Gaingob was an inspiration, promoting greater rapport at the highest level of government and thereby opening the doors for increased dialogue, cooperation, and common understanding. It is due to his exemplary traits to form relations that on February 24, 2023, at the Trans-Kalahari Mamuno border post, President Gaingob and President Masisi of Botswana launched the initiative for national identity cards to be used as traveling documents between Namibia and Botswana. An initiative aimed at promoting bilateral and broader solidarity, people-to-people movement, economic integration, as well as peace and stability. Ladies and gentlemen, advancement in digital technologies have had a profound effect on the African governance architecture. Digitalization brings with it potential to introduce greater efficiency, effectiveness, and transparencies. However, it also brings with it challenges such as greater exclusion and manipulation due to the complexity of various technological processes and platforms. Dr. Gaingob understood that the advent of the fourth industrial revolution brings both opportunities and challenges. To him, digitalization and the Internet of Things present opportunities for Africa to drive inclusion, to drive inclusive economic growth, and leverage information as well as communication technologies as tools to leapfrog the stage of economic development. He believed that African youth can embrace the fourth industrial revolution and leverage digital tools to advance economic transformation across the continent. In this sense, Dr. Gaingob engaged African Union member states to enhance youth participation and inclusion through representation at all levels of decision-making. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gaingob's unique contribution to the governance architecture of Africa cannot be attributed to a solid policy institution or office. Through his exemplary and transformative leadership, he was able to demonstrate that governance is ultimately about building robust institutions, fostering inclusive development, and strengthening public trust. His impactful statement during the African Peer Review Mechanism Forum of Head of State and Governance on the 28th January 2017 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, substantiates the argument that his vision for Namibia's development coincides with Africa's collective aspiration as articulated in Agenda 2063. And I quote, I'm quoting him when he's quoting the agenda. The vision of our union, an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in global arena, can only be achieved if we are united and pull in the same direction, in the spirit of Harambee. The prosperity of our respective nations is the prosperity of the whole continent. Therefore, what we want to achieve are positive effects and results stemming from our sound governance structure, policies, and programs that are aimed at eradicating poverty, achieving inclusion, and sustainable economic growth, geared towards raising the standard of living for all our peoples. The Greek statesman Pericles said, and I quote, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in the stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others," end of quote. Indeed, as we ponder the legacy of Dr. GEINGOB and his contribution to the African governance architecture, let us remember that it is not a legacy of processes, systems, and institutions, but a legacy which at home and across the continent continues to this day to have a meaningful impact on people, producing tangible and transformative outcomes in their lives. On this day, as we remember the man, the legacy, and the myth that was Dr. Hage Gottfried GEINGOB, we remember an African statesman who possessed unique flair and innate ability to turn the ordinary into extraordinary. Through wisdom and foresight, he advanced a governance philosophy that anticipated many of the institutional, democratic, and developmental principles that now underpin Africa's contemporary governance architecture. He set a benchmark for future leaders on our continent by introducing the third wave of African leadership, or what he called New Africa. Dr. GEINGOB challenges emerging African leaders to continue building ever more resilient governance systems that are democratic, developmental, and ethical. Our assignment is clear, is to take what Dr. GEINGOB has left us and build the type of institutions and develop the type of processes befitting the 21st century Africa. An Africa that is united and driven by a single-minded desire to attain shared prosperity for all its people. Let us thus approach this assignment the way Dr. GEINGOB would have done, with courage, with ambition, and with optimism. Let us leave no stone unturned, and let us continue to pull in one direction to ensure that Africa achieves its aspirations. Finally, let us remain inspired by this great leader who was a beacon of unity, unity in Namibia, unity in Africa, unity in the world, an exemplary statesman and a model African, a model Pan-Africanist. Long live the legacy of Dr. Hage Godfrey Geingob. Long live the Republic of Namibia. I thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for reminding us about the Namibian House where no one should feel left out. I want to remind the audience that we are live on television, and I'm being told that some of you are sleeping with your mouths open. So just watch that. You are on live television. To ensure that we don't repeat sleeping, I'm introducing to you spoken word by none other than, she was telling me, Nung Unu. She will explain to you what it means. But ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Chancellor, fourth President and our keynote speaker, let's welcome to the podium for a spoken word, Nesindano Namises.
Hodakeko Hageba Hodako Ninsakere Kwaba Hageba Hodako Wakwenhara Kayeba Hodago Hageva. It is foretold that the tales of heroes may find themselves resurfacing as seeds do out of the soil. Hodago, that the narratives that we so seek shall find themselves here in the rooms that we see. Hageba, Hodago, Wakwenharabeba, Hodago, Harambe. Your clairvoyant call. As the people chant, you had strong tongues for all young and for old, speaking truth to our destiny as Namibians. Yes. Odago. Next to you stood a queen of care and community. And yes, with us you have left all that it is that we seek. Odago Hageba Odago Hageba Odago. you spoke truth to all the stories that we now live, binding us across divisions. Hagelolo! They would scream, because it is here that you sought to give us that unity. I'ma say, ho da go wa kwe kara wa iba. From the depth of the central parts of the Namib, a teacher, a change maker, a dancer. Ageba, ho da go, iba ikaka agebo, ho da go.
Ladies and gentlemen, need I say more? We have in front of us the man behind that iconic picture, little Haifela Kashe. And he wants to say something to us. He was 5 in that picture. He's 7 years old now. Welcome.
Thank you, President Hanga and President Monica. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you, Rafela. You're iconic for us. We appreciate you. We love you. Maybe you want to go and greet Madam Monica. We take cute pictures of that very important hug. Once in February 2024. And it continues to show. He's a seasoned TV presenter, our able moderator. You know, when I say in Dorokade, I'm reminded of a story of some young Oshihero boys that came from Oshinene, and they saw a Mazda and a Isuzu, and said, "Onjo Mazda Dambwe, onjo Isuzu, welcome."
Yourself a round of applause for showing up and showing up in great style. Honorable Dausa, thank you for your work. Now, this being a unit, I guess it's fitting to say thank you very much, University. Let's give a round of applause, please. Former President Dr Nangolo Mbumba, former Speaker of the National Assembly, and Chairperson going to expand a little bit on the themes already firmly. And thank you so much for laying down. I truly appreciate it. Let's give former President left Namibia into exile in 1974, joined SWAPO and became one of the first women to serve in the People's Liberation Army of Namibia plan. In 1989, she was a member of the Constituent Assembly, but in particular, a member of that 21-member committee that was responsible for drafting the Namibian Constitution. The first seat is yours, Honorable. She had held various cabinet roles. I'm only going to refer to one. She served as Minister of Home Affairs and Immigration, and Attorney General at some point. She has many firsts to her. First Women Secretary General of the SWAPO Party. Amongst her qualifications, she holds a Bachelor of Laws, LLB, from this university, the University of Namibia, a Master's in Business Administration, MBA, demonstrating her lifelong commitment to education and leadership. She currently serves as the Vice Chairperson of the Sam Nujoma Foundation. Honorable Pendukeni Wulaitana. Next, going to be sitting next to on my right, immediate right, Honorable Bishop Emeritus Dr. Zevania Kameta, a moral voice in the Namibian society. Let's get him here. Also a struggle veteran, arrested and kept in solitary confinement in August to September 1975 in Windhoek. Elected member of the Constituent Assembly and serving a good 10 years. The young people would have said a whole decade, from 1990 to 2000, concurrently and doubling as the Deputy Speaker for that period. Served as Chairperson of the Basic Income Grant, Big Coalition, from 2004 to 2014, which launched the renowned Big Pilot Project during 2008 and 2009 in Oshivero, Omitara. He was appointed as Minister of Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare by the late President Dr. Hage G in 2015. A recipient of the Wartburg Theological Seminar, USA, Doctor of Divinity in 1983. Wait for this one. Recipient of the Most Brilliant Order of the Sun, First Class, in 2014 by the government of the Republic of Namibia. Bishop Kameta. Now there's going to be a problem and I'll explain later. Mr. Chris Jacobi, a career journalist. Please, let's get him here. He's a Namibian reporter with experience in radio, television, and print. Over the years, he has received various national and international awards, including the Southern African KWV Journalist of the Year Award, and a special award from the World Association of Newspapers in Paris. At the time, the only media institution in Africa to receive this recognition for its contribution to and innovation in education through newsprint. He has had personal and professional relations with all the serving presidents, starting with the founding president, late Dr. Sam Nujoma. His working relationship with the late Dr. Hage G began before the 1989 elections and continued through the constitutional process, independence, and lasted till the passing of Dr. Geingob. He has used technology as a vehicle for news and currently serves as head of strategy at the Informante, where he has helped grow the publication Facebook followers to 1 million. Chris Jacobi. In any conversation, there must be young people. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Bertha Tobias, a Rhodes Scholar and PhD candidate at the School of Geography and Environment from the University of Oxford. A round of applause for her. She holds a Master's of Science in Sustainability, Enterprise, and Environment from Oxford. And she's also a member of the Pi Beta Kappa, most selective academic honor society in the United States. Her doctoral research examines Namibia's extractive political economy with a focus on the country's oil and gas future. At Oxford, she was elected president of the Oxford Africa Society, founded in 1958, home to thousands of Africans and diaspora students. Before Oxford, she worked in the Business Development Department at the multinational energy firm Total Energies, supporting internal efforts at the industrial baseline survey, assessing business and workforce readiness in Namibia's oil sector. Let's give you another round of applause. And what an honor it is for me to be able to preside over this distinguished panel. Before I get to your particular themes that you are going to expand on, let me ask each of you this question. In one sentence, and I'm starting with you, Honorable Ivulaitana. In one sentence, what single governance principle would best define Dr. GEINGOB in your view? The mic is next to you. It's already on.
Thank you very much. I'm a politician in the first place, and politicians don't just take the floor and answer the specific question without paying respect to those in front of them. My son, the former president, the former speaker, the former first lady, the official opposition leader, and all protocols observed. Good evening. It gives me great pleasure really to speak on this day, the 3rd of August. At one point, the late Dr. Hage GEINGOB wanted to signify the month of August, where he was born. He said, August year is a very, very important year. Yeah. So I am a product of many leaders in SWAPO, many leaders in the world, but specifically Dr. Hage GEINGOB. I met him as a young girl, and he was not so young man also, but a very, very impressive person, physically speaking. Physically speaking, a gentleman, and when he appears on the scene, you can't fail to notice his presence. You can't miss his scent around. So that's how we used to know him. Even when he passed through the corridors and you come 2 minutes later, you realize he passed there. But most importantly, Dr. Hage GEINGOB is the one who molded some of us to be real politicians the way we are and the way we ended up to be. Dr. GEINGOB took us through the SWAPO constitution.
Honorable, we had an agreement. That governance principle, which is that?
The governance principle of Dr. Hage GEINGOB is constitutionalism. Things must be done within the law, and therefore he spearheaded the drafting of the Namibian constitution.
Thank you very much. Let's give the Honorable Ivulaitana a round of applause. Bishop, your mic is next to you, and the question remains the same. That governance principle that best defines Dr. Hage GEINGOB.
In the spirit of Dr. Hage G. GEINGOB, unity is a house in which a family is living under one roof. Each individual with her or his own identity, characteristics, different ideas, and physical appearances. With all these differences, they live together. They go out for work or school, each one in her or his own direction. But after they have completed whatever they were doing, they all return to this one house, unity, and to one another. This is where they all belong and feel at home. Their differences are not exclusive and a burden to the other, but are complementary and enriching, sharing, caring, tolerance, and solidarity are their indispensable characteristics. Without it, this house, without it, Namibia, without it, Africa will not be able to exist.
Thank you very much. And I did indicate earlier on that there was going to be a problem. Now here it is. The last time I called you, Mr. Jacobi, you reprimanded me. Now, for current purposes, can I please call you Uncle Chris? Just for as long as my mother is watching and the guests are here. Once they have left, I'll nicely call you Chris. The question remains the same. Which is that governance principle? The mic is next to you, it's on your right.
Now, you are very welcome to call me uncle.
Thank you.
It depends on how your sister look. You have the same question.
Yes, the governance principle that best defines the late Dr. Hage Geingob, in your view.
I will be much shorter than the two politicians because, number one, I'm not a politician. And if I can sum it up, I will use two words, if not one. And President Geingob, for him, everyone mattered. That is, whether it's in governance, whether it's in sport, whether it's social, the Geingob I knew, and still hope I know, is everybody matters. So I have nothing more to add to that.
Thank you very much. Bertha, let me get to you. I'm sure you're not going to struggle with the position of your mic and whether it's on or not on. What, in your view, best captures Dr. Hage Geingob as a principle, governance principle?
Thanks, Stephen. I mean, I'll expand on what Mr. Jacobi said, because what comes to mind for me is really the dancing president. I think that's how he registers for a lot of young people. So many of us heard the word Harambee through the Harambee Prosperity Plan. But when you study the origins of the word Harambee, it's actually a Swahili term meaning to pull together in one direction. And the history of that term is when the British were bringing Indians over to East Africa, you would have a lot of East Africans and Indians working together. So when somebody needed help, sorry, I'm speaking like a politician now, but when somebody needed help, they would all pull together in one direction. Somebody would shout, Harambee, right? So that's how I remember him, as the dancing president who wanted everybody to be included. And sorry, my first interaction with the president was when we were leading some protests. Some of you might remember them, gender-based violence protests, shut it all down. And the first thing he said to us when he summoned us to State House was that he was actually glad that we were protesting, because for him that meant that we had hope. And that the way I remember him is the dancing president who was happy when people protested, because it meant they believed that we can do better.
So then you are indeed a politician in your own right then. Thank you so much. Honorable Ibulaitana, let me get to you and talk to us about that transition that you saw firsthand from a liberation leader to a head of governance. How did that transition happen in your view? And the mic, you will need it.
Well, the transition was not that difficult because we came back prepared. Before we came back to Namibia, we drafted the SWAPO draft constitutional principles that we came and presented to the Constituent Assembly. But then we came with the leader. Dr. Nuyoma had already given us who to lead us when we landed in Windhoek. And throughout, he played that role of a leader, National Assembly, Constituent Assembly, then the split to the committee that now drafted the actual constitution, where we looked at the various draft constitutions provided by various political parties that won seats in parliament. And as such, Dr. Geingob again became our chairperson of the drafting committee. But since he knew already what SWAPO wanted, and then we tried to merge the various aspects from various other draft constitutions. Yet, by the recommendation of the official opposition party, that Dr. Dirk March, the late, that the SWAPO draft constitution should be the working document. So we ran through the processes of merging these documents, looking at the SWAPO draft constitution as the main document to guide the putting together of the Namibian constitution.
The constitution is in place, adopted on the 9th of February 1990, independence on the 21st of March 1990, getting government to work, and him as the prime minister and head of government administration. Talk to us about that part.
Yes, that did not come by chance or by luck or by favoritism. It came because Dr. Geingob guided the process and gained the confidence of all who were represented in the Constituent Assembly, to such an extent that we managed to come out with a draft constitution for signing on the 9th of February within a period of only 3 months, while others thought probably that process was going to be prolonged. But with the flexibility and the knowledge that our chairperson had, we managed to achieve that process within that short period of time. And on the 9th, we signed, the party signed the constitution. And therefore, as a reward for good work done, Dr. Hage Geingob was made the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Namibia.
And it's that part that I want us to get to. How did he get it working? Whether it's the civil servants putting it together, putting the various administrations, ministries, departments to function as one government. What was his role in that space?
Well, the Constitution itself is a document that shows what should be done and what should not be done. It gives limitations. Therefore, setting up a government was already guided by or in the constitution itself. The parliament, the National Assembly, let me say this, the division of the organs of state, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And therefore, the rule of law, that institutions that should be set up in accordance with this constitution must operate in accordance with the stipulations of the constitution in terms of either the constitution itself or the laws made by parliament. So it was not difficult to follow the prescription of the constitution.
Thank you very much. Bishop, let me get to you. I want you to expand on two concepts. You have already touched on the Namibian House, but if there's more, you can still expand on that. But the other concept that I want you to talk to us about is the One Namibia, One Nation. How did this concept come to life?
This concept came to life because that was a foundation of the whole liberation struggle. It's a pity today that the emphasis is more on political divisions and not on unity. So the whole question of one Namibia, one nation, which Dr. Hage G stood for, was meant for all people, irrespective of their political differences, for all people, and in view of the coming generations.
And where are those examples? If somebody is asking, but how can we see that? What can you point to? What is it that he ushered into, he guided into to ensure that one Namibia, one nation actually was a lived concept?
Yes. I want to go into those examples by mentioning something. Dr. Hage G was a member, a very active member of the inner city congregation. And when we talk of the church, we talk about God, where all these ideas and thinking is coming from. God is the parent to those who have no parents. And that's the importance of one Namibia, one nation, so that nobody will be left out. He is the defender of those who are weak and without any support anywhere. Where will you go if you don't talk of one Namibia, one nation?
Indeed.
And he takes, it's God, he takes the rejected and homeless out of loneliness and makes home to them in his house, in the one country, in the one Namibia, one nation. And he leads out the prisoners of injustice into freedom and makes their oppressors ashamed. Remember, in this whole building of the one Namibia, one nation, Dr. Hage G established the Ministry of Poverty Eradication. Let me not go further there because you said it should be only 2 seconds. The further work is that this should become our daily way of living. It should not be only a slogan, one Namibia, one nation, but it should be seen in how we work, we live, we talk to each other, and should become our daily way of living in our beloved country, the one Namibia and one nation. I would have liked also to say the one Africa, one nation, but also go even further and say the one continent, or the one planet, Earth, and one nation and one family. This is how we should live in our world today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Uncle Chris. Are you still fine? I can still call you
No,
Uncle. All right. Now, Uncle Chris, through the lens of the media, or maybe in your case, through your pen, how would you then describe and possibly assess how effective Dr. Geingob was in communicating government activities and maintaining public confidence? How did that play out in your view?
First of all, I'm a writer, I'm not a speaker. That's why I have notes. Dr. Geingob knew the media landscape better than the media knew the landscape. So he was engaging not only me, various editors, various platforms, and he engaged them not to ask something but to direct them and to have a two-way discussion. You must remember, even before independence, we had 1 April. We made peace at Mount Echu. We Namibians sitting here, we're still keeping that peace, keeping our word to each other. Nobody reached for a weapon or a gun or nothing. And as people, we are basically good people. And the president knew that. And he used that. I will give you an example that might surprise some of you here. And especially now that I look at the leader of the official opposition, I must remind him as well. There's always complaints that people cannot change laws or they cannot make laws. It must always be leaders or politicians.
Just hold the mic closer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is always people saying, but you cannot make a law if you are a small party or a small group, and things like that. It's patently not true, it's false. The president understood one thing. Press freedom is not freedom of speech. That's second. He always emphasized to me that, Chris, if you want to do your job, remember one thing. People must first have a right to know before you can exercise or demand the freedoms you so want. So to him it mattered, the right to know. There was a law just after independence, the Privileges and Immunities Law. Those who are old enough to know that, or even who are in Parliament. I wrote him a letter as editor at that time of Republican. There was a big debate about it. So I wrote him a letter and asked him if he thinks it's right that in Namibia, some people have more immunities and privileges than others. That law was accepted in Parliament. It was sent to the National Assembly on its way back to Parliament. And now I must quote the late president. He went to the president that time, Dr. Nangolo. He showed him my letter. They discussed it. And then he wrote the following thing, 2 May 1996. I must now keep the book and the mic here.
Yes.
So after I explained my problem to him, he wrote, Of course, if you wanted to inform your readers, you could have written about the subject in your editorial. But your letter directly to me shows your genuine concern to solve the problem. Therefore, I can say that your letter prompted me to re-examine the clauses. Realizing that they could curtail the freedom of the media, an outcome that was not intended, I consulted with the President and Cabinet colleagues and was thereafter able to ensure the media that these clauses would be dropped. And it was dropped. So the law was changed. And the next encounter was the third term, the amendment of the Constitution. You must now remember at that time the amendment of the Constitution was not a very popular thing, especially amongst my group.
Is your group the media group, or which is your group?
You can take it now, color,
Oh, okay.
soldiers, media, you can decide, you can have your pick. So, Dr. Geingob called me and talked to me about this amendment of the third term. And I was shocked. I could not believe that he can ask me a thing like that. It's not possible. I explained to him, I said, listen, so I was buying time. I said, let me go and speak to Dirk Match. He's the boss of the place. I said, okay, go and come give me an answer. So I went to Dirk Match and I talked to him and I told him what the president said. There was an insecurity. And that is that the president, according to the Constitution, must be elected by universal suffrage. So the first term, President Nyoma was not elected by universal suffrage. So we must make that correction to keep the Constitution and the law in sync with each other. So Mat said, okay, ja, gaan julle maar aan jou. Ek boer nou. So halfway through this debate, you must remember now that time, the Youth League
that leadership is a series of heroic acts. But I think what we can take from President GEINGOB'S leadership is the discipline to say no when you have to say no, and be willing and able to undertake that thankless work where when you preserve stability and when you preserve things as they are, it's thankless, but that is actually the heroic effort. I mean, I'm a Oxford PhD candidate, so you can tell I'm a bit of a nerd. So I had to look at his PhD thesis from 2004 that he submitted to the University of Leeds. But something very interesting in his PhD thesis was a section where he writes about an effort to restructure civil service and cap spending. And he reflects on that experience, and he says that the reason it was very difficult to achieve that is because it was difficult to get ministries or departments to understand how they could be redundant, right? If you think about a department, it is counterintuitive to convince a ministry or any institution, any organization that it's redundant. So he says that out of fear of rocking the boat, that effort wasn't successful. His suggestion in that part is that leaders, I mean, I'm inferring here and paraphrasing, but leadership should be able to say no when you have to say no. So I think in terms of inculcating that, what young people can do and draw from his lesson is that actually leadership might not be as heroic and dramatic as we tend to think it is. I mean, his greatest legacy is the fact that we had a peaceful transfer of power, you know, when he passed on. And I think it is thankless, but I think that is his greatest legacy, is that he built institutions that outlived him, where when he was alive, it was thankless, but we turn back and we reflect on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, this panel cannot exclusively claim to know Dr. GEINGOB. I'm sure within the audience there are lessons to be shared, observations to be made. Let me now open the floor for brief interactions. We are constrained as far as time is concerned, but we would want to hear your voices. If there are issues that the panelists would have expressed views on and you want to follow up on that, by all means. But if you also have your own views, we will also allow for that. Limited, of course. And we would want to suggest that you do not compete with the panelists in prefacing your inputs and theorizing other things. Let's just get to the point. I'm seeing I know about 60% of the audience here. Those that I know, I'll say by name. But the rest, please, before you engage us, if you can just introduce yourself and then get to the point. I'm seeing Dr. Audrey Mata has the mic. I take it you want to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just a question. In the context of the Presidential Center, what would be unfinished business of Hage GEINGOB going forward for younger leaders? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the context of the Presidential Center, what would be unfinished business that young people should take forward? That's the first one. Professor Chopa Mpanda has a hand raised here, but it seems the mic is going to first make a detour at the back and then we'll get to you. You can use that one. You may take the floor. Honorable.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I have a question to my mother. The last letter that President GEINGOB and I exchanged, I was trying to ask him to commission books by these leaders that we have so that they have books written. And he simply just wrote back and he refused and he said it must be done by young people themselves. So then I took up the task myself. And I have a problem with what I discovered with the Constitution, having been a founder and you are sitting in those committees. So we have Article 29 of the Constitution and 57. So one says that Parliament can impeach the President. The other one says the President can dissolve Parliament. None of those one says how. So basically, if Parliament is meeting at 2:30 and there's a motion to be introduced on impeachment, President can release a statement 1 minute to 2 that Parliament is dissolved. And because there is just no mechanism. And worse, the President can only dissolve the National Assembly on recommendation by cabinet. Now, for you to be a member of cabinet, you must be a member of parliament. So meaning the people who have power to recommend must first be suicide bombers because it terminates themselves there. So it's not possible for a president in Namibia to dissolve the National Assembly, and it's also very risky for the National Assembly to impeach a president. Why was it kept like that? Is it perhaps that the law would be passed to deal with procedural questions? I actually finished the paper, but that part I can't get into your minds. It's only you that were there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable, that one is directed to you, but let me get the first, the one at the back. If you can just take the mic, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Twileka Elias, and I am a public policy analyst as well as monitoring and evaluation professional. Namibia is one of the countries on the continent and beyond that has a good functional governance system. And for a moment, I thought that it was the norm in every other country to have social grants, to have your beans picked up on time or at least every week, just to learn that it's not the same. And President GEINGOB was of the view that good governance should be measured in the improvements of people's lives rather than institutions only. Now, as a country working toward achieving Agenda 2063, what elements of Namibia's good governance model should other African countries adopt? Number one, to strengthen policy implementation. Number two, accountability. And number three, inclusive development. Thank you.
Please repeat your name again.
Twileka Elias.
Wilika Andreas.
Twileka.
Twilika.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's get the last one and then I would apportion the questions. Up. Anybody closer to a mic up there? Yes. Please.
Good evening. My name is Wamondila Chilinda. I'm a producer of Tracing the Footstep, a documentary that was dedicated to the life of the late President GEINGOB during his stay in Zambia. On a lighter note, before I bring my point forward, I'm wondering what will be going in the minds of the late Hage's contemporaries in Zambia, who still claim up to today that as far as they know, he's Zambian. So looking at what is happening here, I think I need to alert them that finally he's being claimed to be completely Namibian, but remember, he's still a Zambian. Mine is on both the Presidential Center and the foundation. I realized that the late Oliver Tambo's house in Zambia has been declared a national monument, and it remains so. Unlike Oliver Tambo, for Dr. Hage, there are quite a number of properties that he occupied, and they are still respected as such, including the famous United Nations Institute of Namibia, the Union Institute, the building itself. Are there any plans that probably those properties can be preserved to honor him as we look into the possibilities of the Presidential Center and any other maneuvers that are being contemplated right now? I thank you.
Thank you very much. And this time around, you are live in Windhoek. Good to note. There are 4 questions. I think 2 of them, Professor Kashavivi, should go to you as chairperson of the center. The one from Dr. Audrey Mate and the one that we just received now. I'm allowing you time to gather your thoughts. Honorable Ibulaitana, your son has asked you a question. So I will allow you to respond to that. And then Beth, I think you should then take the one that came from Twilika around the various concepts that you spoke about and how those could then be kept going forward, if that is fine with you. Honorable Iwulaitana.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mpanda, Honorable, for the question. One principle that I have learned as a student of law is that a constitution is a living document. Living in the sense that it grows with the society. As the needs arise, so does the constitution also become or made relevant to the situation. And the constitution allows Parliament to enact laws to facilitate the implementation of the provisions of the constitution. Because the constitution cannot tell you how to elect your officials, but it says after every 5 years, there must be elections. That's why we have the the electoral commission and there is an electoral law that tells the public how to elect their officials. So in a similar fashion, Parliament is now called upon to look at those two conflicting provisions and decide how either to merge them or how to enact a law to facilitate the implementation of this particular provision you have mentioned. That in short.
Thank you. Professor Mpanda, maybe the objective was to ensure that none of the two finds application. Betha, please, if you can assist us with that response, and then I'll get to Professor Kashavivi.
Sorry, Tuilika, you'll have to forgive me. What exactly was the question?
Is there a possibility of us getting a mic to where Tuilika is? Okay. It's just that we are live and the audience outside this room would also want to benefit from what you are sharing with us. If we can get a mic to her.
So my question was that President Hage G was of the view that governance should be measured in the improvements of people's lives rather than through institutions alone only. Now, as a country that has a good functional, governance system on the continent, and as we work toward achieving Agenda 2063, what elements of our good governance model should other African countries adopt in order to strengthen, number one, policy implementation, number two, accountability, and number three, inclusive development? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what is the Namibian case study to the continent?
All right. I mean, I think that question sums up everything we've been saying about Dr. Geingob today, which is his belief in the power of institutions. And I think back to a fun political governance framework that considers that there should be 3 sturdy legs to any effective government. And that would be your institutions, which I think was really and truly his talent. And I think that is the leg of the tripod that other states can emulate. So it would be your institutions, it would be your citizenry and or your people, and then it would be the actual laws that you announce. So to answer your question directly to Ilika, I think it should be the institutions. I think a lot of statesmen and stateswomen across the continent are exceptionally skilled at making the announcements and putting in the newspapers the headlines that mobilize people and excite people. But I think the thankless work behind the scenes when the cameras are gone, the building of the systems, the institutions, and the processes, I really think that was Dr. Geingob's talent. So I think that's our example to the continent.
So that's our gift to the continent of Africa. Professor Kashabibi, those two inputs, the one from Dr. Mate around what are those unfinished activities that could be carried possibly by the center and others, as well as Mr. Mwandi
Okay.
Chilunga's inputs as well.
Yes. Well, in fact, I'll be saying a number of things that relate to the sender in my remarks when I have the opportunity. Could I request that
we defer the
those are some of the
responses?
things that I'll be covering in my reflection. That is going to be almost, shortly.
All right. No, that's in order. I'm agreeable to that on behalf of the audience. One more input. Dr. Itula has been raising his hand, and he would think that I'm ignoring him, and I've got no reason to do that. Can we please have Dr. Itula please share what he has with the rest of us?
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, your presence, and all the dignitaries. It was actually my birthday yesterday. So August is a very important year indeed. And today I would be sending a message to His departed Excellency, Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob, to wish him a birthday as well. And he would respond. And we had our little talk. One thing that he actually demonstrated was when he invited me to State House twice. The first time I said, why? He said, a healthy democracy must be able to embrace all of us. And while I was there, a dignitary from a different country said, you just contested against the president and you are in State House. That doesn't happen in Africa. And I said, first we contest, and after the contestation, we are Namibians and we build Namibia. I was going to be very naughty and ask the founders of our constitution and our republic. Democratic institutions are extremely important. And as we would have it, a healthy, strong opposition is important for the survival of democracy. But what I find missing in the constitution is the institution, that democratic institution of the official opposition. That institution doesn't exist, neither in the constitution, neither in our laws. Was that a flip of the no, or was it deliberate? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As we end the questions part, I think Bishop Kameta, Honorable Ivulaitana, that question is yours. Was it an omission, deliberately designed, or just a mere omission? Why was that left out?
Well, if I may start, I know the bishop will give it a nice religious explanation. Yeah. Official opposition is not always envisaged. Not in the circumstances under which we negotiated the Constitution. Because in as much that SWAPO had the overall majority that time, the other parties saw themselves as a government of tomorrow. And therefore, nobody wanted really to address the issue of official opposition. I've not compared notes on other constitutions because as we were drafting our constitution, we also were borrowing from those other constitutions we felt were relevant, like the Constitution of India, America, and others, to borrow the best practice from them. But I wonder whether even in the Constitution of India, there is a provision for official opposition. Because today you can be on official opposition. Tomorrow you are the governing party. That is what is happening.
The former president is actually assisting you.
Yes, he is assisting me.
And we want to get him on record so that we document the assistance. But you may proceed.
No, but my position is nobody wants to be an official opposition permanently. Yes, therefore, really to build it in the constitution as if that title belongs to a certain political party permanently, I think I wouldn't like to, to be in that position. And therefore, whether it is in the constitution or not, it will happen anyway. You are there, but you are not in the constitution.
Well, Honorable, while you have the floor, can I ask you for your concluding remarks as well? Just so that we can close it off altogether.
Yes.
As you reflect on this discussion and the main message that should flow out, what would that be?
What I could gather really is that we as Namibians should appreciate, in the first place, the brains amongst us and build upon them to progress into the future. Because many of what Dr. Hage Geingob has espoused are theoretical. Some of them, we didn't see the fruits, but they are so fundamental. If scholars can pursue them and make them to become practical in our governance institutions, in our structures, strengthening institutions, then we are going to reach somewhere. Other than just to listen to such talks and leave them as if this was just a child's play.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. Bishop Kameta, for that religious touch as promised, and as you also sign out.
Yes. I want to touch on the question of how we should balance efficient governance with social justice. Here in Namibia or in the whole of Africa, balance efficient governance with social justice. Now, speaking from my own religious background, I see this question and problem of balancing this in a completely different way. When God spoke, Genesis 1, when God spoke, the world and all that is in it appeared as his command. His word didn't remain just a word, but brought forth the creation and made that a living reality which will be seen and felt for the benefit and life of all, especially those who are suffering and who are in need. Now, the question of efficient governance and social justice. The problem is that words never become a reality. they remain words. We fight for those who are poor, those who are suffering, but action is always missing. God spoke, and it was. He didn't just speak, and there was nothing. And that's what we should and must learn in Africa, especially in our beloved country, Namibia.
And the office of the official opposition, why did you leave it out?
Well, whether it is official opposition, whether it's a ruling party, we must do what we are speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we have no way anyway. There will be no future. It's good to speak, but words must become a reality. And then we have a future for our beloved country.
Thank you very much. Uncle Chris, as we close, your reflections.
I want us to take a minute out as we sit here. We talk about the youth, we talk about the Constitution, the future, good governance and things like that. Remember 36 years ago, the president, a lot of ministers were not yet 50. Young people, putting a government in place, restructure a whole civil service, keeping a nation together, keeping each other out of each other. I just want us to reflect for that moment on that, personally. Secondly, think about this. Our liberation war, it was bloody, it was ugly. It was a bit romantic here and there as well. It was 26 years. Our independence is 36. We are 10 years longer in peace than we have ever been in war. From the 1700s, we have our longest uninterrupted period of peace in Namibia's history. Includes the cattle wars, the whatever. I just want to reflect about it. Thirdly, people talk about good governance, good administration. President GEINGOB as Prime Minister. And nowadays we shout corruption, and I don't know what else. There's maybe not a person in this hall who's not corrupt. If you looked at the social media. I know I'm not because I don't have money. So I'm okay. The President GEINGOB appointed a white guy with the surname of Brits, Professor Amopana, you'll know. It was the Public Service Union, actually Public Service Commission's boss. They two, together, start forming the civil service. We couldn't just chase people away. In fact, half of them ran away in any case. So I had to appoint new guys. And that Brits Commission, the first investigation he did was the borehole scandal. Ministers and officials having boreholes that the government drilled and use it as their grazing areas. Some of these guys are not with us anymore, but some are. But it was GEINGOB who appointed that commission, and there was action. I just want us to reflect sometimes on what is now and then what is in the future. I think we are blessed. We have youth that all have another 36 years in front of them, which are better educated than we ever were. We have more opportunities. So if we have had the faith 36 years ago in young men of 40 to lead a country to end the war, Surely we can have that same faith in the current youth of 30 years. There's no problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Betha, your final observations?
Right. I think that my final observations are, my mind is taking me back to a climate economics class that they taught us, and the definition of sustainable development. And paraphrasing the definition, sustainable development forces us to reflect on how current generations can preserve what they have for future generations. And I think my takeaway from this whole conversation and my takeaway from reflecting on the legacy of President Geingob is considering that we all have a moral duty to reflect on what our generational responsibility is to preserving what we currently have and endowing that and leaving that for the next generation. So we inherited a peaceful Namibian government or a peaceful country. We inherited institutions that work. Although it's an imperfect country, we inherited something that is better by general continental standards by far. And we all have a generational responsibility, especially for young people in the room, to consider what it is our responsibility is and how we're going to ultimately carry that. And I think reflecting on borrowing some of the language that was used in one of the questions around unfinished business, I think that, I'd push back on that premise a little bit, because I do think that President Geingob did finish his business. And I think that that is a model that he's left for us to consider what is the business that we have to finish in our lifetime, so that the next generations can experience the fruit of that business.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And as you were talking about the message to the young people, you could possibly be heard somewhere there saying, and you dare not betray it. So thank you very much. Let's give the panel, please, a round of applause. As I conclude, I just want to remind us that tonight's discussion should be a reminder to all of us that governance is not measured by the offices that leaders hold, but by the institutions that they strengthen, the confidence that they inspire in future generations, and the values that they defend. President Hage Geingob's legacy challenges us to build an Africa where democracy is not episodic, development is not exclusive, but leadership is ultimately measured by service. A round of applause for that, please. Last one. As we work for a better Namibia in which no one should feel left out, let us hold hands in the spirit of Harambee. Thank you very much, Ms. D. It's over to you. Our time is spent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A thunderous round of applause for our incredible panel. Because we are celebrating a birthday, it is only appropriate that we share some gifts with our incredible panel. And I would now like to call on Professor Peter Kashavivi to be our patron to do that job. Thank you so much. Shall we start with Madam Ivula Itana? Oh, sorry. Thank you for your contribution, and we will help you. You can maybe go down for now. We'll take pictures later. Thank you. Bishop Emeritus. From the Dr. Hage G. Presidential Center. Thank you. Uncle Chris, in the interest of transparency, why don't you show the audience what is in your gift bag?
In the interest of transparency, it's a closed book. Thank you very, very much.
It's a thesis of prison. Thank you very much. It was lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for that incredible panel. We are slowly moving towards the closing of our program tonight. But before that, I want to show you a short video, which will be self-explanatory. And after that, I will call on the chairperson of the Dr. Hage G Presidential Center to make his closing remarks. But for now, please enjoy the video.
Your Excellency, Madam President of the Republic of Namibia, Honorable Professor Peter H. G, Chairperson of the Board of Directors of the Dr. Hage G Presidential Center, distinguished member of the board, Let me begin where my heart truly is. Today, we remember a man I was privileged to call a comrade, my friend, my brother, and my fellow Pan-Africanist, the late President Hage G. Had he lived, he would have marked his 85th birthday this 3rd of August. Although he is no longer physically present among us, I join his family, his nation, and his many friends across our continent in wishing him a posthumous happy 85th birthday. A man is not measured, or a woman either, only by the years he or she lived, but by the causes he or she served. And Hage G served the cause of democratic governance and African dignity with a devotion that will long outlive him. It was therefore a source of great delight for me when a few weeks ago, the planning committee of Dr. Hage G Presidential Center paid a visit to Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, Nigeria. We open our doors gladly for what is learned and shared between friends need not be labored over twice. I trust that the members of the committee returned home with useful lessons that will guide the takeoff of operations of the center in Namibia. And I stand ready, as always, to make available whatever further assistance our experience can offer as you build an institution worthy of the name it bears. Permit me at this point to share with you a memory that remains vivid in my mind. When the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library was formally opened, I was overcome with an excitement that I have found difficult to fully put into words, but I shall attempt it for you today. For it may be of some encouragement as you carry the GEINGOB Center forward. The excitement arose from two sources. The first was deeply personal. There were seasons in the years of building the library when financial demands grew so heavy that I came close to abandoning the project altogether. Those who have built such institutions from the ground will understand this feeling very well. It is one thing to conceive an idea or a vision. It is quite another to sustain it through the years of expenditure. But a vision of that scale demands. So, when the day finally came that the doors were opened to the public, my joy was, in large part, the joy of a man who had nearly given up, but had, by grace and by persistence, seen the project through to completion. The second source of my excitement was the satisfaction of knowing that we had, in the process, produced a model of what a presidential library ought to be, one whose scope and comprehensiveness would be difficult to match anywhere in the world. It was not enough for me that the library should merely house documents and memorabilia. I wanted it to be a living institution embracing scholarship, leadership, training, interfaith worship, youth development, and public engagement, all under one roof and one vision. That the library has grown to be regarded in such terms remains, to this day, one of the greatest satisfactions of my life. I began with gratitude and with hope. Gratitude for the honor of being asked to share in this occasion in memory of a friend I held in the highest regard, Hage, because I have seen with my own eyes what can be built when a nation determines to honor its own. and I have every confidence that the Dr. Hage Geingob Presidential Center will in time take its place among the finest institutions of its kind on our continent. To the family of President Geingob, receive once again my deepest condolences and my warmest posthumous birthday wishes to a great son of Namibia and of Africa. To the board, the management and the people of Namibia, I congratulate you on this launch, and I wish the center a long, fruitful, and impactful existence. I thank you all, and God bless the Republic of Namibia.
Thank you for that beautiful message from former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. Another round of applause for his generosity to share with us what he knows about presidential centers. We've come towards the end, and I now want to call to the podium for his closing remarks a man who continues to entrench his footprints in the body politics of our society. The current chairperson of the Dr. Hage G Presidential Center. He is also a former Speaker of our National Assembly and the founding Vice Chancellor of the University of Namibia, Professor Dr. Peter Kashivive. For your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm experimenting with my toy here. First of all, I wish to acknowledge few people, Your Excellency, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, former President of Namibia, Madam Monica Keinkos, the distinguished invited guests, all of you, let me simply say, I stand by the protocol already established and that have been observed throughout this evening. As I take this opportunity to make closing remarks, I would like to express our sincere thanks and appreciation to you all for having taken time to join us on this special occasion. I do this, let me first give an overview of Dr. Hage Geingob Presidential Center. Like other presidential centers and libraries around the globe, Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob Presidential Center is an initiative that has been set up by his family, in particular, by his dear wife, our former First Lady, Madam Monica Keinkos, as I said, and his children. Together with our late President's many friends, former colleagues around the globe. The broad objective of this initiative is to uphold to uphold and preserve his legacy and set a leadership standard at home as well as in our SADC region by preserving the past, capturing the present, while inspiring the future through research and documentation. We must admit, those of us who had the privilege to form part of the founding mothers and fathers of our republic. We've done a great deal of work during that particular period, but I feel there's an area that we have not done that well, and that is documenting. Writing and documenting our experiences as we traverse through the various stages of nation building. That is a challenge to some of us, to many of us, particularly who were there at the period when we were struggling to write that constitution and the event that followed the acceptance of the constitution. Secondly, let me speak of how I knew the kind of person that Dr. Hage Godfrey Geingob was. Dr. Hage Godfrey Geingob was the third president of our republic, born on the 3rd of August, 1941. Well, I came a few months before him, and he used to contest that. He said, well, 2 months, does it really make a difference? I said, well, Hage, it does. It does. At least I started walking before you started walking. But of course, as we all know, he was physically left us in our midst on the 4th of February in 2024. He was a freedom fighter, a seasoned politician, as you heard, an academic, and an advocate of social justice. I like some of the observation and comment that we had this evening, and I felt, as a retired politician sitting back in my little house there, I sometimes feel we have not said enough in some of the things that we had tonight. You need an occasion like this to come here, to hear some few glimpses, few comments here and there, and you feel it's not enough, because I feel it makes you wanting to hear more. But again, we accept there are limitations, and we simply have to go by what is possible. We talk about a seasoned politician, an academic, and an advocate of social justice. This, beside today's being the day that Dr. Hage Godfrey Geingob Presidential Center is now in the process of lifting up. You had President Mbumba referring to it as well. We are now also commemorating his birthday on the 3rd of August and also celebrating his life as we keep his legacy alive by lodging the town hall conversations, dialogue, and everything that you had, aimed at unpacking his unique contributions to the governance in Africa. That had been properly reflected upon. You had a great deal about that. Hage always emphasized living in a society governed by systems, structures, and processes. Indeed, institutions can only properly function in a society governed by the rule of law, and that is continue to be transparent and being accountable. His emphasis on properly aligned systems, structures, and processes in governance was to bring to light the idea of transformational governance across the continent of Africa. I think you had a great deal about that. I personally remember him as a person who was always dedicated to removing the walls that tend to divide people from each other. The reference to inclusiveness, the Namibia House also speaks about that wish of not having walls that keep people from each other. He was dedicated to breaking personal barriers. And to a certain extent, the interaction with most people who met him, interacted with him, always remember him being absolutely open for a dialogue, a serious dialogue, and also for reasoning for those who have got a particular issue that they wish to share with him. He had a compassion and a deep sense of commitment to serving his country. This I know from way back, from our youth, the common expression. If you made a point to Hage, he would always ask you to dig deeper. Sometimes he would say, do define that, elaborate on that, illustrate the depths so that I would understand and appreciate better your point of view. This did not necessarily mean that he disagreed with you, but rather he was keen to understand the kind of contribution you are making. And sometimes he will confront you and say, what do you mean by that? And some people used to take that as, well, he either doesn't want to have a conversation or is being so disagreeing to a point where he doesn't want to hear. But that is not the point. He's soliciting further elaboration from your side. So once you get to know him in that sense, you begin to appreciate the questioning and the demand for more detailed kind of answer or point of view. I can cite examples of such occurrences that I recall clearly while we were in exile. When Professor Burumba Kirina named our country Namibia, Hage and Hidipo Hamtenya decided that it was one thing to have a name, but exactly that name did not really, it was not announced with proper explanation, you know, even detailed analysis in terms of the origin, the thinking behind that, so that those who read something like that will be able to understand and put it in the context. It's a question of appreciation. So, on that basis, the two brothers of mine wrote a concept paper on the name, defining Namibia, which formed a chapter in a particular book written by an American academic. These are some of the things that tell the story of our growth and development as young people of the time. Hage was blessed to have Monica. I told him so, openly, as one of his close friends. I said, aha, Hage, you are lucky. And he looked, what do you mean? Well, I don't need to elaborate. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Yes. Just like Hage, Monica has a sensitive mindset, always looking forward to a brighter future for Namibia. Absolutely. And it is worth noting that besides this initiative that has brought us together today, Monica has done so many other good deeds of goodwill in our country, and beyond that have continued to exemplify the kind of person that she is. Sometimes these things have to be said while we are still around and appreciating these things. We never be taken for granted that people notice. And maybe said by people like some of us who have no hesitation whatsoever to acknowledge things that are good and that serve this country so well. Monica was an extraordinary partner of my friend Hage, whose very presence became a cornerstone and a rock to lean on, both in joy and in times of hardship. Equally, the devoted, unwavering support from their children, their collective children, has been very instrumental in all these efforts. Because you need to have family members who do appreciate why you are sitting in the study hours and hours. Why you miss a particular aspect relating to the children is because I'm occupied here. And they fully appreciate and say, well, we value that and we are willing to let you go and do that. And that does not suggest that you're ignoring their particular well-being, not at all. I also want to take this opportunity to extend my thanks and appreciation to members of the board of the center whose unwavering dedication has turned this initiative into a reality. I sometimes sit with some of those young people, with Monica, and I'm inspired by the compassion, the sense of dedication, and willingness to take on some of the demanding tasks that we have to be carried out in order to have a day like this ready for us to feel extremely proud to do something like this. It doesn't come easily, but it's through hard work of those young people. And most of them are young people. Anybody younger than me is young. Let me also extend my thanks and our appreciation to former President, His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, my dear brother, for being here and for the message that he shared this morning that provided the basis for our reflection. I think that was very important. I also want to extend the same thanks to our esteemed panelists and, of course, the moderator. The University of Namibia and its Vice-Chancellor, represented by its Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Administration and Finance, our dear sister, who did her job extremely very well for us. We also wish to thank NAMPA, NPC, the Ministry of International Relations and Trade, NACTES, as well as the organizing committee and the director of ceremony, our dear sister, our former Minister of Justice, and now back home to the profession that she's been extraordinarily renowned for. I should also record our thanks to President Obasanjo. We wish to acknowledge the message that he shared with us, that detailed analysis about the way how he went about to set up the Obasanjo Presidential Library. Those of you who had an opportunity to go to Nigeria, please visit that center. The library is superb. The archival section is super. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's a place to visit for any serious academic work. I remember Obasanjo in his youth, when he joined the Nigerian army, he was called upon to be part of the Nigerian military contingents sent to the Congo after the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first prime minister. So at the age of 94, to have the time to invite us, to take us around the center, and to have the time to spare to send a message as he did, that's tell the story about his commitment. Furthermore, let me extend a note of a special thanks to Bonnie from UNAM for tirelessly being available during the preparation of this occasion. And many also say, last but not least, a very, very heartfelt thanks to our former First Lady, Monica Kenkos, as well, who have been all the way around, sitting around and making sure that every detail of planning has been taken care of. And sometimes you need that kind of reminder. And I personally do, I need to be reminded, you know. Sometimes I like to stay in bed for hours, so I need to have something to pull me out of bed and do something useful like that. So those are never to be taken seriously, but I just wanted to make a point that hard work is what matters, and we cannot do without having dedicated people who are able to live up to their expectations. As I conclude my remarks, let me say this. Whereas Hage is physically no longer with us, his spirit lives with us. And this is a fact. And we are absolutely convinced that we will continue to highlight his contribution in Namibia, in the region and elsewhere, because his contribution was actually important for future generation. We continue to cherish his ideals and his love for Namibia and the rest of the continent and the world in general. Say no more, but rather than say, I'm done, and I simply want to say thank you for staying until so late hours to be with us. This has been an extraordinary event, and we are grateful for your very presence. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful closing remarks. And I just want to, as a footnote, add the Leadership Lab Yetu for their great contribution to the success of this event. We are almost done, and we have refreshments. Remember, it's a birthday celebration, and for a man like our late President Hage G. it's so difficult to have limited time. But as all good things need to come to an end, I want to call upon His Excellency, the fourth President of the Republic and the Chancellor of the University of Namibia, to come to the podium. Your Excellency, I want to give you a gift. He's looking shocked. He's saying, why is she calling me to the podium? And I want to call our third First Lady, Madam Monica Kenkos, so that she can hand over the small token to His Excellency. Clap for them as they are sharing gifts. Your Excellency, please remain on the podium. The next is Madame Namila. On behalf of the University of Namibia, please come to the podium as you're standing in for the Vice Chancellor, Professor Kenneth Matengu, who couldn't be with us tonight.
This is a thesis of his dissertation. Thank you.
Please remain on the podium. the three of you, but you can give the... Thank you. We're going to have the first, there'll only be 2 opportunities for pictures, particularly for the media, and so that we can have memory of this event. So the first picture opportunity I would like Dangos Kengos, Osheveli, and Helmut to join us on the stage for... And the governor of Ochodonjupa, Honorable. Please join us for that first picture. Put on your best smile. Dr. Simata and Professor Kachivivi, please join the first picture. You can leave your phones and we invite the media to the front to center the picture, make it nice. Don't just start taking, people are not even smiling. Please remain on the podium, and I now call the moderator and his panelists to come at the bottom of the stage to join the picture. I don't mind being in some of those pictures, even just by... Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our program. Please remain standing. I have 2 quick announcements. We will rise as the front row leaves the room. There are some refreshments. The ushers will direct you, and please stay and enjoy some refreshments, network as we celebrate.